Alright, let's take a look at every championship club and see what player their academy has produced that would now cost the biggest fee if they were sold on by their current club. Barnsley, John Stones, 70 million. Considering the likes of Harry Maguire are getting sold for nearly 90 million quid, I'm guessing that John Stones would probably command upwards of 70. Yes, many people still think he defends like a horse on roller skates, but on his day, this man is solid and composed. For Christ's sake, he's a two-time Premier League champion with over 100 games for City under his belt. That is when he's on his day and not daydreaming about ponies. And Barnsley won't sold him for 3 million quid. I hope those club directors have since been fed to a family of hungry pigs. Blackburn, Jack O'Connell, 10 million. Let's be honest, the Blackburn Academy has been a graveyard for years. I don't know what they're teaching the kids there because they've only produced the likes of Junior Hoylett, Grant Hanley and Jason Lowe. Maybe that academy's diet plan consists of 3 pints of lard and half a plate of gravel before every training session because honestly, Christ above. I suppose Jack O'Connell's a decent centre half for Sheffield United and in this market would probably cost about 10 million. Birmingham, Jack Butland, 30 million. But apparently Stoke are holding out for 30 million for Jack Butland. Despite this man having already been dropped once this season, had his international career flushed down the bin, and currently sees his career teetering on the edge of League One, and yet Stoke are holding out for the same transfer fee as was paid for England number 1. Good lord. Brentford, Alfie Mawson, 15 million. Yes, I know Alfie Mawson spent last season playing like a drunk cow, but let's not forget, Fulham were stupid enough to chuck 20 million at his head. 20 million for 13 performances of complete and utter ineptitude. If Mawson gets his Swansea form back, then the 25-year-old former Brentford youth should cost around 15 million. Bristol City, Lloyd Kelly, 15 million. Well, Lloyd Kelly has only just swapped Bristol City for Bournemouth on a 13 million pound deal. You'd imagine if he was to be sold, it would be for a profit, so let's say he's a 15 million pound player now. Not bad for someone who spent 8 years at Bristol City. Cardiff City, Aaron Ramsey, 60 million. Okay, no, I don't care that Juventus bought this man for less than a Twix. Aaron Ramsey is a 60 million pound player and we all know it. How Arsenal let this guy just walk out to Juventus on a free transfer is absolutely insane. Cardiff should feel proud though. They've nurtured a kid who'd go on to play for the champions of Italy. I mean, who else are the Cardiff coaches going to brag about at cocktail parties? Chris Gunter, Joe Ledley? Do me a favour. Charlton, Joe Gomez, 35 million. Yes, Charlton have fell on hard times in the last 12 years, but their academy has still produced some handy players. Adamola Lookman, John Joe Shelby, Bradley Dack, but Joe Gomez is already a European champion and will probably command upwards of 35 million. This is the man who Charlton coaches can feel most proud about, as they desperately try to dilute the guilt attached with having inflicted the likes of Carl Jenkinson upon the world. Derby County, Will Hughes, 20 million. Hey, remember when Giles Barnes was supposed to be the most exciting thing out of Derby County since football began? That kid was supposed to win England the goddamn World Cup. Yeah, it's 10 years later and he's now a washed up MLS benchman, having been forced to declare for Jamaica after coming to terms with the fact that his career was lying face up in a ditch. I'll go for Will Hughes. He's probably a 20 million pound player at Watford, but don't get too excited. An empty condom packet would probably be sold for 6-figure digits in this transfer market, just as long as it was English. Fulham, Moussa Dembele, 30 million. Ordinarily, I would have chosen Ryan Sessegnon, but according to Spurs, he's not worth that much. I'll go for the former Fulham and Celtic striker Moussa Dembele. He scored 20 goals for Lyon last season. He's only 23. Yeah, he'd probably cost about 30 million. Then again, Lyon sold their captain for 90 million quid, so what do I know? Huddersfield, Philip Billing, 16 million. Yeah, the Huddersfield Academy don't produce many world beaters, or any to be honest, but Philip Billing is a Denmark international who was just sold to Bournemouth for 15 million, so again, if he was to leave, it would be for a profit, so let's just say 16 million. Hull City, Daniel James, 35 million. Yeah, you might not know this, but Daniel James actually spent 8 years of his life in the Hull City Academy, linking up in 2006 when he was just 9 years old. He would have been at the club when they were first promoted to the Premier League, cheering on the human meat sweat that was Dean Windass, and no doubt cringing whenever Phil Brown did anything. He's currently banging them in for Man United. If he keeps this up, 35 million pound player for sure. Leeds United, Danny Rose, 20 million. Leeds have traditionally always had quite a strong academy, although it's dried up a bit in recent years. I'll go for Danny Rose, a Champions League finalist with Spurs, who always seem to get linked with about 6 different moves away every day of the week before he's even finished his morning Weetabix. He's a 29-year-old left back, so it would probably cost about 20 million. Luton Town, Max Aarons, 25 million. Yeah, Max Aarons, cousin of Orlando, is Luton's most valuable export. He linked up with them in 2009, spent 5 years in their academy, and now is a 25 million pound rated 19-year-old left back, starting week in, week out in the top flight with Norwich. Middlesbrough, Ben Gibson, 10 million. Okay, Ben Gibson has been nothing short of a complete and utter 15 million pound disaster at Burnley. He's only played 1 game for them, and even that coincided with a 5-1 home defeat. If he was sold, he could leave for a knockdown price, probably 10 million. Although after last season, they'd probably be lucky to get 3 packets of hula hoops for the poor boy. And I remember when Middlesbrough fans rated him with 30 million, and he was even linked to Man City. Good Christ, they would use him as a training cone. Millwall, EBERECHI, 10 million. EBERECHI is a 21-year-old forward currently playing week in, week out at QPR. I'll be honest, he doesn't seem that good. 7 goals in 65 games is pretty pathetic. But hey, Millwall don't produce much, other than the cast and couch for Jeremy Kyle. Nottingham Forest, JAMAAL, LASCELLES, 40 million. Patrick Bamford could have made this list if he'd lived up to that potential and ended up playing for Chelsea, instead of, spending his time leading on my country and collapsing to the ground whenever he feels a light breeze. Let's go with JAMAAL LASCELLES. He's young, English and a Newcastle United captain. Considering Mike Ashley once sold Carroll for nearly twice the fee of Luis Suarez and wants 50 million for Sean Longstaff after 8 goddamn starts, Christ, you'd be looking at upwards of 40 million at least for Lascelles. Preston, Josh Brownhill, 10 million. Having come through the ranks of Warrington, Man United and Preston, Josh Brownhill is now a 23-year-old midfielder with 135 appearances for Bristol City under his belt. He's probably a £10 million player. QPR, Raheem Sterling, 150 million. Probably the best player in this entire list. Yes, Raheem Sterling actually came from QPR, joining their academy in 2003 at the age of 9 and leaving for Anfield in 2010. That QPR academy is probably filled with framed photos of this man. His former coaches probably have his face stapled to the goddamn fridge. Reading, Gylfi Sigurdsson, 50 million. Yeah, this one seems weird. You would expect British football academies to be filled with young English players from just down the road, not some 15-year-old kid from Iceland. Gylfi Sigurdsson joined up with Reading in 2005 when he was just some teenage kid, and so probably looked up to the likes of Steve Sidwell getting promoted. While Sidwell went on to have a career on par with that of James Perch, Sigurdsson has since played for Hoffenheim, Spurs, Swansea and Everton. Oh yeah, and he knocked England out of the Euros, and a fun time was had by all. Sheffield Wednesday, Jimmy Vardy, 30 million. Oh no, Sheffield Wednesday should take no credit for this. They had Jimmy Vardy on their books, a future Premier League champion and England international, and released him after 6 months back in 2002. They might as well have flushed their wallet down the sink. Rejected at 16, casually tossed out like an old banana skin. What a decision based on absolute lunacy. I hope those Sheffield Wednesday coaches have since been burnt at the stake. I mean, come on. Stoke City, Richard Keogh, 4 million. Yeah, Stoke don't produce much, other than crippling shame and immediate disappointment. Richard Keogh was a 33-year-old defender, so he probably wouldn't cost much, but hey, he's an Irish hero, so he makes this list. Swansea City, Daniel James, 35 million. And we're back! Yes, he was a Hull graduate, but Daniel James also linked up with Swansea in 2014 for just £72,000. Whoever spotted that skinny 16-year-old kid deserves a pay rise because he's probably going to be a Manchester United cult hero. West Brom, Chris Wood, 30 million. Chris Wood is a Premier League striker who regularly hits double digits a season for Burnley. These players are hard to find, so West Brom are probably kicking themselves having punted him out to Leicester back in 2012. He arrived at the Baggies Academy late, in 2009 when he was already 17, but still it counts, alright? He even scored for the first team, but really, they should have kept him. Wigan, Leighton Baines, 3 million. Okay, it's true, Wigan's academy is absolutely terrible. Even though suppose good players turn out bad, Leighton Baines is probably the only thing of note they can hold up from the academy. And even he's 34 and warming the bench at Everton.